Welcome to OSLC Connect for Jira feature preview on Link Decorators. In previous releases, we showed you adding status and priority as Link Decorators on links. Allows you to be able to have a simple hint to how important a requirement is or what the status of that requirement or change item is that's linked to your Jira ticket. It's simply and visually without having to do things like rich previews, which tend to take a little bit longer. It takes more time for us to be able to dig into that information. And so what we wanted to be able to do is add more capability around that. And we've been asked to add additional attributes, additional configurations to do that. So what we've introduced in this release is configurable link decorators or link appearance. The way that we're going to do this is we optimize it to be able to leverage our drag and drop knowledge and capability. So I can just drag a requirement onto my configuration here and be able to see what those link decorators look like. And so we'll see exactly what we saw before. We saw the priority and we saw the status. Now, if I want to add additional attributes, now I have the option to be able to pick attributes. Now, we went and discovered this based on that requirement we dropped. So we know the shape of it. We know the attributes of it. If I pick something like requirements type, we'll even know the enumerations that go along with it. And so we can be able to preview what that looks like. In this case, I can go ahead and see that this requirement's a non-functional requirement, so I'm going to have an indicator that's able to say that. And like we saw before, we can also change some of the details on here. So if I wanted to be able to change things like the color of the presentation of what's a functional requirement, I can go ahead and do that. I can go ahead and even change the label on that. Maybe if I just want to simplify that to an F. I might also want to be able to do something like use an icon. And so we do have the ability to be able to leverage an icon. I can go ahead and utilize something like a given URL. It allows me to be able to specify a different icon I might be able to want to use for a type. And so when I hit update, we're going to be able to see that now we're using that icon. Now, sometimes those icons can be a little bit small to be able to see and visualize. We can do a hover over here and we have a tooltip that tells us details in terms of what that type is, what the value is. And we're going to be able to see that on all of our different elements. Now, it's nice to be able to look at one element, but why don't we also be able to have another element in there as well? That way we can look at multiple different items at the same time and be able to see how this configuration is going to look and appear to us. So I can just go ahead and drop another item on here. And what we'll see here is that this is actually a functional requirement. So we'll see that F abbreviation. We'll see that the priority is low, but we don't have a status on that item. And when we don't have a status, we simply omit that attribute on that item. So we can be able to see different content, different capabilities. We can even add more complex data on here. So things like maybe when we've created this, we can add that on here. I'm not necessarily sure I'd advocate for that, but we can see some richer, more complex sets of data that's presented on here. And it allows us to be able to configure how we want to do that. We even can just change the order of these items as well. We can drag and drop and be able to put things like our requirement type up front. And once we do this, we save this. And then it's going to be available on any of our Jira tickets. The next time we go to that Jira ticket, we'll see a different presentation of that. And what we'll also see here is a little bit of a difference here. You'll see here on some of our more complex things, we'll see a more icon. This will give us a card with a list of additional attributes if we're using lots of different attributes on those decorators. So hopefully that gives you a sense of what we can do. If you have more questions or need more details, there's always the question mark to be able to get us to your help and be able to find out how you can configure this in more depth. So, thank you.